In this video, we're going to talk about parallel lines. In this particular one, line A is parallel, and this is the symbol for parallel, to line B. And line T, that's running kind of diagonally, is called my transversal. It cuts through both parallel lines. Now, if I have an angle here, which angle is vertical? Vertical would be diagonal or across. So when I go diagonal or across, I'm at this angle here. And the neat thing about vertical angles is that they're congruent. So if this were 100 degrees, this one would be 100 degrees. Let's look at another one. If I know this angle, what other angle would I know? What other angle is vertical? If you put a point here, you'd be correct. They are diagonal across from one another. And they are congruent, meaning they're the same. Now we have alternate interior. Interior is the space inside. So inside the parallel line. So this space right here would be my interior space. And alternate is kind of opposite, so my diagonal. So the opposite, only looking at the angles inside, so the angles inside are 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the angle opposite or diagonal from 3 would be 6. Which one is opposite 4? If you said 5, you're correct. These are examples of alternate interior angles, and they are also congruent. So if I said angle 4 was 60, angle 5 would have to be 60. Moving on, we have what's called alternate exterior. And if interior is inside, exterior is going to be outside. So my exterior space is here and here, outside of the parallel lines. So I have the angles 1, 2, 7, and 8 that are exterior. Again, I'm looking for alternate. So I'm going to make my big X, and there it is. So making my big X, 1 is congruent to 8, and 2 is congruent to 7, meaning they have the same measure. Next, we're going to look at corresponding. And I remember corresponding this way. If I think about cutting my paper in half, and cutting begins with C, corresponding begins with C, and I take this piece and I put it on top of the piece below, cut it and put it on top, the number 1 is going to be on top of the number 5. So 1 and 5 correspond because they're on the same side of the parallel line. Here's my line, here's my other line. 1 is above and to the left of the transversal. 5 is above the line and to the left of the transversal. They're in the same location, so they correspond with one another, and they are congruent. Now let's see if I can make this a little bit lighter so you can see. Okay, so when I take this and put it on top, you can see a little bit better. 1 is on top of 5, 3 matches with the 7, 2 matches with 6, and 4 would match with 8. That's corresponding. Because when I pick it up and put it on top, what number does it align with? So if angle 1 were 70 degrees, angle 5 would be 70 degrees. So let's look at an example that might show up on the MSAs. They give me this picture of parallel lines, and they would note off to the side, let's say this is line C and this is line D. They're going to say C is parallel to line D. Okay, so I'm going to fill in, it tells me right here, looking at the information, angle 2 is 110. Now what I like to do is draw in my shoelaces. And to make it easier, I'm going to do two different colors. Now, when I do shoelaces, I do the old-fashioned way that I lace up my shoes. And I know some of you guys do designs with your shoelaces, but we're going with the old-fashioned way. So when I lace this way, here we go. There's the one side of the shoelace, and I'm going to do the other in a different color. Okay, you'll see why in a second. Okay, so this side of the shoelace, the 2 touches the 3, touches the 6, and touches the 7. If it touches the same side of the shoelace, it's congruent. So that means if 2 is 110, 3 is 110. And I also know that this is true because 2 and 3 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. 3 and 6 are congruent because they're what type of angles? Who knows which of the rules? Here's a hint. They're inside the parallel lines. So they are alternate interior. 6 is congruent to 7 because they are vertical. Again, vertical. Another reason is 7 and 3 correspond. If I cut this here, pick it up and put it on top, 3 is going to line up with 7. Okay? Now, wait a second. They only gave me one number. What else you need to remember is that these two angles form a linear pair. They form a straight line. And a straight line forms the bottom of my protractor. I'm going to draw my protractor. How many degrees is a protractor worth? I hope you said 180 degrees. And because it's worth 180 degrees and I already used up 110, how much is left for me to use? 70 degrees. So if angle 1 is 70 degrees, trace my shoelace. Angle 4 because of vertical. Angle 5 because of alternate interior. And I'm going to say number 8 because 1 and 8 are alternate exterior. And also because 5 and 8 are vertical and 4 and 8 correspond. So there's 3 different reasons why I could say 8 was 70 degrees. Okay, let's look at another one. Same thing, I have 2 parallel lines, and they've told me that, although I didn't put that information there. Angle 6 is 40. I'm going to give you a second, okay? So let's draw in my protractor. There's my protractor, a little bit sloppy this time. Find angle 5 for me now. Remember, our protractor is 180 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to do 180 minus 40, and that's going to give me 140 degrees. Now I'm going to quickly draw in my shoelaces. So X, and there's my other X, and there's my last X. Okay, I'm going to follow this shoelace here. Okay, so it goes to 3. So 3 is also going to be 40. And it goes to 2. So 2 is going to be 40. And when I follow the shoelace in this direction, this one's also 40. Now we're going to follow this shoelace here. It touches the number 4. So it's going to be 140 because this shoelace goes right here with this number 140 and goes up here, and it's 140 degrees. And when I follow it back down this way, it's 140 degrees. Something else they might ask you on the test is, angle 3 and 6 are an example of what type of angles? Think of our choices. We have alternate interior, alternate exterior, vertical, or corresponding. Angles 3 and 6. Okay, they're inside the parallel lines, so they're going to be alternate interior. 2 and 6 are an example of, well, this is where I come in and cut my paper. And I pick up the 2 and it lands on top of the 6. So that means they correspond. They're in the same location. 6 is to the right of the transversal and above the line. 2 is to the right of the transversal and above the line. Same location. Similar to when we did similar figures, or actually we're going to be doing similar figures soon. You know, the length of one rectangle matches up with the length of the other. Same location. I hope you found this helpful in identifying different types of angles and how to determine their measure.